It was almost 3 o'clock. The sky was dark. The sun obscured by clouds that had rolled in from the sea. It was hard to breathe now, to draw breath. His chest fought to rise, but the weight of his own body pulled him down, the weight of a body suspended by its arms. Arms outstretched. He could feel the water fill his lungs, the pressure between the bones of his breast. He was drowning. It was the water that would bring death, just as it always did in a crucifixion. The clouds hid the sun's face, but not its heat. "I am thirsty," he said. Someone ran, dipped a sponge in wine vinegar, stuck it on a stalk of hyssop, and raised it to his lips. It was bitter to his taste. Last night, was it only last night? He had passed a cup of red wine around the table and broke bread. He and these 12 that were his, and they had talked and argued and laughed, and every moment had burned into his bones, into his very sinew, because he knew he would not be with them in that way again. And after they had gone to the garden, to Gethsemane, to sit in the cool night air, under an olive tree, and sing hymns, and he had been overwhelmed. He took the 3 who were closest to him and said, "Come." And they followed him deeper into the garden. And he said to them, "I am overwhelmed by sorrow, overwhelmed to the point of death. Watch with me, wait with me, pray." And he went a little bit a ways from them and began to pray, to pour out his heart to his Father as he had so many times before. "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass." It was silent. Ooh, 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 except for the call of an owl in the night air. He went to the 3 who were closest to him to draw comfort from them. He found them, all 3, fast asleep. "Watch with me, wait with me," he said. "I need you." And again he went off to pray. This time, as never before, realizing the frailty of his own flesh, the quickness of each passing moment. "Father, I know nothing is impossible for you. Take this cup." Again it was silent, except for the sound of snoring, faint, but not far away. He went to them and he shook them awake. They did not know what to say to him. "The spirit," he said, "is willing, but the flesh, oh, the flesh." Once more, he went to pray. This time he prayed, "Father, if this cup will not pass unless I drink it, thy will be done." It was silent still. Just as it was silent now. It was the silence, even more than the weight of his own body, that pressed down on him. Never before had he been so aware of his own pulse, his own breath. He looked up. Of the three, only John remained to watch and wait with him. John and the women, Mary his mother, Mary of Bethany with those eyes looking at him, Joanna and Simone. They all looked so small and frail and sad. "Yes," he said again. "If this cup will not pass unless I drink it, I will drink it for them." The silence was deafening. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? It is finished. Mary, his mother, turned her head. But Mary of Bethany did not look away. She watched it all. Everything. And she would forget none of it. Now the Romans were eager to cut the bodies down. It was about to be the Sabbath, and not just any Sabbath, but the Sabbath of the Passover. So the Romans went to the man to his right and to his left and broke their legs to speed their deaths. But when they came to him, they said, "This one is already dead." They pierced his side with a spear to be sure of it. Blood flowed, and water. The Romans cut the body down, and they gave it to John and the women, who hurried with it to the tomb. With a flurry of hands, they wrapped his body in strips of linen. They layered myrrh and aloes. They worked quickly, without words, but with great care. Still, they could not finish before sundown. As they were about to leave the tomb, Mary saw that a guard had been posted, and that they were about to roll into place the large stone which would close the mouth of the tomb. "We are not finished," Mary said. The guard shrugged. Mary was not happy, but there was nothing she could do. Mary's sister Martha lit the Sabbath candles and sang the Sabbath prayers. But Mary would not eat, for she said, "Death has not passed by my door." And as soon as she said it, she could almost hear the teacher say to her, Mary. But she knew she would not hear that voice anymore. And she thought about her brother Lazarus, how when he died, how they had sent for the teacher to come, but the teacher had not come in time. By the time the teacher had come, her brother had been dead and buried 4 days. And when he finally got there, she had said to him, "Where were you?" And he had cried with her. To her sister Martha he had said, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies. Do you believe this?" And there was no one to call him forth from his tomb as he had called forth Lazarus. Lazarus, still swaddled in strips of linen, waddling out of the tomb. There was no one now, only death. Mary slept little that night or the next. Early on the morning of the 3rd day, she got up and she went to the tomb. When Mary got to the tomb, she saw that the large stone had been rolled away from the mouth of the tomb. "These Romans are nothing if not efficient," Mary said. But then Mary saw that the guard was gone. Mary looked inside the tomb. His body was gone. "Where is he? Where have they taken him?" she said. "Oh, everything went wrong. Right from the very start, he never should have gone to Jerusalem. We begged him not to go. He never should have been arrested, never sentenced, never crucified. Now this!" Mary turned and she stumbled into the gardener. The man took her by the elbows and said, "Mary." "Teacher. Teacher? Jesus." "Mary, do not touch me, for I have not yet been to my Father." But she could not touch him, cling to him. That voice, those eyes, his hands. "I never thought I would see you alive again." "But how?" "Mary, at a wedding, when the cup has passed from the bridegroom to the bride's lips, what happens to it then?" "Why, it is crushed beneath the bridegroom's heel." "So I have crushed this cup. I have crushed the power of death." Mary was not sure she understood. Mary didn't understand many of the things he said the first time that he said them. He was alive, alive again. That was all that mattered. She could live with this.